Hello, everyone, and welcome to the White House. Thanks a lot for waiting. Apologies, we were running a few minutes behind. But we should have a lot of fun today with our guests here. I'm joined by Heather Higginbottom from the Domestic Policy Council and Ben Rhodes from the National Security Staff. I'm Macon Phillips, and we'll shortly be joined by Brian Deese from the National Economic Council, who was held up in a meeting but is planned to get here quickly. Earlier this week, the President answered questions from Steve Grove of YouTube in a really exciting event from the White House. After that event, YouTube provided us with some more questions to answer, which we're going to use to kick off this conversation. Of course, you can also join the live discussion at whitehouse.gov/live. And we'll be pulling some questions from there as well as from YouTube.com. So welcome again, and thanks for your patience. And let's just get right into the questions. First one's for Heather. That comes from Stephanie from Nebraska, who asks, I'm a future educator. I want to know what you are planning to do about the implementation of No Child Left Behind. The current policy is causing our teachers to teach the test and not really give students what they need in their education.
Great. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for the question and also for your career choice, because one of the things that is most important to strengthening our public education system is highly qualified teachers, and we know we're facing a retirement boom in the coming years, and we need more talented young people to enter the profession. So it's great that you're interested in becoming an educator. You raise an important point about No Child Left Behind and what that has done to the teaching in some of our schools. President Obama is very committed to raising standards in our schools, but doing so in a way that ensures kids are learning a variety of subjects to very high standards, and that the assessments that are used to measure their progress are done not in the drill and kill or fill in the bubble type of test that we have in many schools now, but very comprehensive assessments of thinking and learning, and that are used to measure progress for a student within the school year. So often school districts have tests that are just taken as a snapshot, one year to the next, and you can't really tell how a student is doing within the year. And we want to, as we revisit No Child Left Behind, make changes to that. The President has made education reform one of his key priorities, and we've already had a great opportunity over the course of the last year to make some improvements and investments in education. And this year, as he said in the State of the Union last week, we hope to update and revisit the No Child Left Behind Act. And the point that you make about ensuring teachers are supported and have the opportunity to teach the courses and curriculum in their classrooms is key to that. Another important element of our education reform platform is really changing the teaching profession. The President believes we need to pay teachers more, and that we need to reward success. He also believes that we really need to support younger teachers like yourself, so that when you enter the profession, you have a mentor or someone that can help you identify challenges and become more successful. So again, thank you for contributing in this way, and I would encourage you to follow the debate that we're going to have this year around education reform. I think that you'll be pleased with the direction that our assessments and our testing system are going to go in. Great.
Thanks, Heather. So actually, Brian just joined us, so why don't you come grab your seat here? Which is good because, Brian, a lot of the questions that we got are in your expertise, so we're going to try to just make it up, but now that you're here, we'll go. So do you have your microphone on and everything? Let's get him taken care of. We'll just skip him real quick and go back to another issue that we're hearing a lot about, Heather. That's best. One question that came from Joey from California asked, could you outline your plan about immigration reform? What are your plans about this long overdue campaign promise?
It's a great question, Joey. I'm glad you brought that up. Immigration reform is another of our key domestic priorities. It's something that, again, the President talked about last week in the State of the Union. He actually also talked about it yesterday at the National Prayer Breakfast here in Washington. He was commending the leadership of many evangelical leaders who have spoken out and said that we need to fix this broken system. The reality is we need this broad support across the political spectrum from different sectors to work with Congress and update this law. President Obama, as he said throughout the campaign and as he has said over the past year, believes we need to take steps to fix the system. We've had significant improvements in our border security over the past few years, but there is certainly more that we need to do and should do. And at the same time, we need to develop a program to deal with the 10 to 12 people who are here in the country now working and living undocumented. And we need to come up with a program that ensures that they are working legally, that the employer verification system works and can be counted on in the future, so that once we make this reform, we're not back in the same place in just a few years. So this is something that we're quite committed to. We've been spending a lot of hours on Capitol Hill working with members of the House and Senate on a bill that can get support from both Democrats and Republicans. And the President has tasked Secretary Napolitano of the Department of Homeland Security to really be the lead on this, and we've been working very closely with her. And this year, we hope to make significant progress on that.
Great. So Brian, welcome. Let's get right to one of the questions that came in from Latasha Gibson from State College, Pennsylvania, who asks, recently it was reported that the President plans to tax banks to recoup the cost of the bailout. If so, how will you ensure that this tax is not passed down to consumers in the forms of fees with or without separation of commercial and investment banking?
It's a really good question, and thanks for bearing with me. You guys are all seeing a little bit of the ongoing craziness that we have here in the White House, but I'm glad to be here. The single most important thing for the President with respect to the bailout is ensuring that the American taxpayer gets repaid every cent of the money that went into that program. What he's proposed is a modest fee on the nation's largest financial institutions to recoup the about $100 billion that will be necessary to meet that pledge to the taxpayer. So there is one question that often comes up. It's exactly the one that we heard, which is, aren't the banks going to just pass that on? There's a couple important structural aspects of our fee that really get at that problem. The first is, this only applies to the 50 or so largest financial institutions. Our financial infrastructure in this country is far larger. There are about 8,000 banks. To the extent that the largest institutions were to decide to respond to this fee by increasing rates for consumers, they're going to be at a competitive disadvantage with the vast majority of medium-sized and smaller banks in this country. That's not a position that they're going to want to put themselves in. And second, we do, unsurprisingly, we have heard that claim from a lot of the financial institutions themselves. They've said, well, if you do anything, if you impose any burden on us after we, the American taxpayer, have stepped in such an unprecedented way, we have no choice but to pass it on to the consumer. It's a difficult argument to take seriously during a period where these banks are now returning to record profits and in some cases passing on record bonuses to many of their top executives. Our view is that if these banks really have no other option, they could look to these bonuses that they're paying rather than passing on the cost to consumers. So for a number of reasons, we think that and are confident that this is not going to get passed on to consumers. And fundamentally, it's vitally important because the taxpayers should not have to bear the cost of this rescue.
Okay, great, thanks. And we're going to take our first video question that came in, and I believe that comes from Bill in Virginia. I'm going to cue that up here, and hopefully we'll be able to put it on your screen at home. Video question, and I believe that comes from Bill in Virginia. Cue that up here, and hopefully we'll be able to put it on. Apologize for the delay. We're figuring that out.
Thank you for your leadership in the clean energy arena. I have one question. Listening to the speech last night, you did say how you're going to pay for this. Is there going to be some sort of cost for carbon, or are big polluters going to be allowed to continue polluting our environment for free, no consequence? Apologize for the delay. We're figuring that out.
Did you hear the question?
I think I did, and I think the question was, are we going to put a cost on carbon so that big polluters have to pay when they emit carbon into the atmosphere, as opposed to continuing to do so for free.